you from Cherokee County, Georgia. We want to give you an update on the No King protest here in Woodstock and across the country, as well as some information about what's going on regarding immigration in our community. This is Pat.
And Greg. And let's not forget about Will, our sound engineer par excellence.
And more.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick things off. So we have some protest coming up. It's going to happen this coming Saturday on June 14th. We'll talk about more of that in a little bit. Right now we are seeing a bevy of lawlessness coming out of the Trump administration. Surprise, surprise. They're pushing really hard to enact the Project 2025 agenda playbook. And if you haven't heard the phrase Project 2025 in a while, go give yourself a refresher, because what we see happening with this administration is the exact playbook that is written out in that document. Okay. They are pushing hard to get all of the powers of the government into the executive branch's hands. Okay. This administration's lawless, unconstitutional actions again and again and again are all over the news and social media outlets, regardless of your perspective. It's being talked about. So our Orange Julius's recent illegal rolling out of the California National Guard in California to quell the actions of peaceful, nonviolent protesters in LA is just the latest example. Taco Man's action was illegal because, and I quote, Donald Trump is creating fear and terror by failing to adhere to the U.S. Constitution and overstepping his authority. This is a manufactured crisis to allow him to take over state militia, damaging the very foundation of our republic. Every governor, red or blue state, should reject this outrageous overreach. This is beyond incompetence. This is him intentionally causing chaos, terrorizing communities, and endangering the principles of our great democracy. It is an unmistakable step toward authoritarianism. We will not let this stand. Those are the words of Governor Gavin Newsom as of yesterday, when he and his attorney general filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration for their actions in calling out the National Guard illegally. So, and look, there are times to call out the National Guard. None of us are going to dispute that. But it always must involve the governor of the state. It is the governor of the state's responsibility to call out the National Guard for their state and to contact the president if they deem it necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The first couple of days, there was no need. The numbers of protesters were so small. There was absolutely no possible reason to have any other than the local law enforcement take care of it. There was nothing other than him, as you said, trying to create a distraction from the fact that nothing else has been going his way. Now he's got the whole country talking about him and about what he's doing, no matter whether it's constitutionally right or not. It doesn't matter to him. He just wants to have his name and his stuff going on, and he's claiming he's doing stuff.
Right. Well, and this is the thing that all citizens need to understand, because this can happen in any state. If he's done it in California, he is very prepared to do it in any state he deems necessary. And the truth is the president cannot co-opt the National Guard of a state, what's called federalization, unless there is a distinct threat to the citizens of that state. Okay. And there was no threat. It was a peaceful protest. Okay. And it completely infringed on Governor Newsom's role as commander in chief of the California National Guard, because he is.
Yeah.
Okay. And it violates the sovereign right of the state to control and have available its National Guard when needed. So it's, for all these people that are conservative in our red county of Cherokee and our red state of Georgia, states' rights is everything. Well, he just pissed all over the states' rights issue
Yeah.
because it could be any state going through this, you
And
know? So federalization is a very specific thing in the federal code,
yeah,
and he completely violated it,
yeah, he
you know?
he ignored that. And again,
So,
as we know, we now have had a situation here in Canton, Georgia, which is just north of us here in Woodstock, okay, where ISIS attacked and 6 or 8 people were arrested standing in line at a Mexican food truck in Canton. You know, they'll find reasons. Well, in what, in California, they even went into some of the schools.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
So, the thing to keep in mind, is that we as citizens have a constitutional right to bear witness against infringements on our state's authorities by this administration. And so, we need to get out and protest peacefully, lawfully. And so, sorry about that. That was my brother calling. So, resistance is more necessary than ever with these assets. Okay. And we need to keep that in mind that it is our constitutional right under the First Amendment to peacefully protest against this kind of stuff, our right to assembly. So we have to resist. And this is where groups like indivisible.org come in. Okay. You may remember recently we had our local Woodstock chapter leader for Indivisible, Martha Schindler. And she joined us for a podcast recently. And she and has organized the Woodstock version of a nationwide protest that's coming up on June 14th. You'd think I would remember that because that's my birthday, um, which is Flag Day. Now, and this is the No Kings protest that I mentioned at the top of the show. And the whole point of the No Kings protest is, well, hello, we have a president, not a king. What we have as a president right now, though, is a king wannabe. And so this protest is all about really just laying it out there that we are a we are a democratic republic. We are not a monarchy, and we don't need the Mandarin Mussolini coming out and telling us on his birthday that he has a right to throw himself a nice U.S. taxpayer funded birthday parade. But I digress. Okay. Flag Day was initiated long, long ago, right at the birthplace during the birth of our nation to honor, okay, the U.S. flag, celebrate its adoption, and to also honor the principles of freedom, unity, and patriotism, which this administration is crapping all over. Okay. So, you know, this indivisible event called No Kings is actually happening all across the country.
yeah, I got to break in for a
So,
minute,
sure.
okay? Because I was talking to a friend in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay, they're advertising. There's also the other group that coincides with Indivisible. It's 5051. 5051 stands for 50 states, 50 protests in one day.
Yep.
So they are, and as an example, in Utah, their website is showing up as the lead in the No Kings.
Right.
It's all part of the No King, protest.
Okay.
It's the two of them together. So, locally, it's for us, it's more indivisible, but in other areas, it's also 5051.
Yeah, we should put both of those links in the show notes.
Yeah.
So, but the indivisible, the concept for this is really good because um, what we saw during, the Trump administration, version one, was mass protests in large cities where there was significant destruction of private property, destruction of state property, federal property, and that's completely what we want to avoid. And that also puts a lot of pressure when that happens on local law enforcement to be able to handle the volumes of people. So the concept is we're indivisible. We are a collection of communities across our entire nation. And the idea is that we protest locally in smaller groups because if all of us who truly care about this situation and truly care about freedom in our country and democratic ideals are out there on the same day in our local communities protesting, it will be millions and millions and millions of people. Sorry, I'm emphasizing on the tabletop, everybody. So that will be much easier for local law enforcement to do their good jobs and not have to worry about bad actors and not have to worry about things getting out of control because police get brutal when they're scared. Is the bottom line. All of us do. And so, the idea is that we have our local indivisible event here in Woodstock, which is going to be on Saturday, June 14th, this Saturday, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Just go to indivisible.org, click on the RSVP button, put your information in there, just your email. Um, excuse me, and your zip code so they know who you are and they will put you in contact with your local indivisible representative. Like I said, excuse me, for us, that's Martha Schindler. And so some things to keep in mind. Uh, it's peaceful, nonviolent. Okay. We are just going to go there with our signs and our voices and let our community know what's going on and how important it is to stand up. It's very important that we are peaceful and nonviolent. So go with a friend, buddy up. Pat?
No, Martha was 8.
Episode 8, I think. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so. Yeah. No, to know
Um,
more, to know more details specifically about Martha Schindler. She was our guest in number 8 on our podcast. So again, if you go stay with the podcast, go back to I believe our number 8, and you'll find out in detail. You'll listen to Martha explain how she got into Indivisible, what she's doing, what she sees the whole. So it's a great one to listen to, knowing even what's going on even before you get involved on Saturday.
yep. And so uh, going back to how to be ready, be prepared to be peaceful and nonviolent no matter what happens around you. Okay. There's some really good tips for how to do that on several websites out there. One of the best ones I found was at the NRDC website. And they have a whole section of the website dedicated to how to protest safely. So if you just go to NRDC, the Natural Resources Defense Council website, and you know, also with your Google search for how to protest safely NRDC, and it'll take you. You'll find the link to go right there um, to prepare yourself. Some of the things they mention is, oh God, all of a sudden my throat's locking up. Like I said, go with friends if you can. Buddy up with someone. Tell someone who's staying home where you're going and what you're doing, and that you expect to contact them when you are finished. It's possible that counter protesters or bad actors may infiltrate the crowd and try to initiate violence. So the organizers of the national protest sent an email out to all people that want to be involved last week that said, if that happens around you, you sit down, you don't say a word, and you that if everyone in that area sits down when someone starts something, the police know exactly who to go to. There's no question. And so, and you just continue to peacefully protest. Stay out of the arguments. Don't argue with anybody. Okay. Um, you should, if you are comfortable, document police action. You can do this with a little notepad. You can use your phone, but if you do choose to bring your phone, lock it down. Make sure it's encrypted. Make sure you don't have face ID recognition set. Make sure you do not have fingerprint set. Put a nice, strong pin pad code in there. Okay.
One more
Um,
while you're on the protest, just FYI, there'll be a second protest that's going to be related to the situation regarding immigration here in Cherokee County. More details will be available, but that's going to be Saturday the 21st. So that's the following Saturday. And in order to find out details on that, which have not come out specifically yet, okay, you can go on to Mobilize and sign in, and you will be given the details of that protesting, and again, peaceful protesting regarding the specifically the immigration thing in Canton at this point in time, or in Cherokee County. And Cherokee County has been told has been is telling ICE, unless you have a warrant, don't come into Cherokee County.
we like that. Good for our Cherokee County sheriffs and police force. Since we're talking about the police, at a protest, do not engage with police. Use your right to remain silent. Just peacefully protest. Don't interact with the police. Okay. Remain calm and non-violent. Okay. The NRDC page has a lot of good tips on how to dress, what to bring, so you can protect yourself and so that you can be well hydrated, that you can, have some food in case you get detained. Go to that NRDC website, how to protest safely, and get yourself ready. Okay. Most of the protests are set to last for about 2 to 3 hours. Just so you know, go to indivisible.org to sign up today for the June 14th event near you, and to be more involved in future protests and actions. Sign up to indivisible.org so that you are notified. Okay. And lastly, remember, it's our democratic republic, and we can no longer sit on the sidelines and hope that the people running it are going to do the right thing. We need to publicly exercise our constitutional rights and force our government to act on the behalf of all citizens and human beings within our borders.
And my
So
last comment is, if you don't say something and don't do something, you happen to be complicit to what's going on.
there's that famous quote. The best way to enable evil to take over the world is for good people to do nothing.
Right. Yep.
All right, that's it.
Go ahead, do your final.
That's it.
Yeah,
This is Greg
this is Pat.
and Will, our sound engineer par excellence. We wish you a healthy, safe, successful week. Be sure to give your family and friends lots of big hugs and stay safe out there.
And we'll be back next week and give you an update on the protests that happened on the 14th.
All right, take care, all.